Morning, Saturday. Yeah, you probably noticed yesterday that me moustache disappeared halfway through the vlog. I forgot to mention that, so I'll check the comments, see if anyone's noticed. But today, what have we got on today? We have to get a haircut. I'm going to get that done nice and early, and I've got a bunch of recipes to write, and then I'm going to answer a question, and you probably saw the title of this. A lady down in Melbourne who has asked for some advice on how to approach becoming a content creator, and I guess specifically a content creator in the food niche in 2024. And I think so I'll lean into what I think I would do if I was starting again. But anyway, I'm going to crack on, get some stuff done before I head out to get my hair cut, and then we'll come back and answer that question. And I'll probably just rant. I'll think about it a bit in the car, and then I'll probably just rant. So yeah, I think it's an interesting and exciting time currently in the digital world. Okay, so what time is it? Almost 4 o'clock. What have I got done? I put another light up. I had some other odds and ends stuff. Well, not odds and ends. I needed to do something. I got like a server room, which is kind of has a lot of storage and networking and blah 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 blah. I had to get some ventilation through that, so I did that. I wrote recipes. I wrote 4 recipes, which was fun, but it's good to have it done. I think, what else have I done? That's about it really. Had some lunch, hung out, took the dog out for a bit. But what I really came on to jump on, and I prepped for this. So there was a question by, I'm so sorry, I've forgotten to write down your name. It was a creator, and it was a question around, some advice or some, can you review a footage or anything like that? And it was, I get asked a lot, right? I get asked, how do I do this? How do I kind of do what you've done? So I thought I'd sit down, I'd make notes. So I've got notes on my phone here. I've thought about it, and I wanted to give a really proper answer. So tune in, buckle in, have a cup of tea, I don't know, whatever. You're going to hear me ramble for a while. And hopefully, if you're interested in this stuff, or you're thinking about this as a vocation, you take something from this, hopefully. So the first point I wanted to make was have a niche, and you hear this said a lot when people are talking about how to do what you do, and it probably annoys people, because there is people out there that are creators that don't have a niche, and they're kind of just what I refer to, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, as lifestyle creators. Usually they have really interesting lives, right? So unless you're kind of traveling everywhere, or you've got something, that's interesting in your life, I think it's really hard to make it unless you have a niche. So, my niche it's a niche in a niche almost. So obviously Andy cooks, it's all about cooking, but it's coming from the perspective of a professional chef cooking at home. So that's my angle, and it's always been the angle. And the goal is to inspire people to cook better food. And to kind of break down the barriers between trying new dishes and changing, the normal rotation of 12 dishes or whatever most people we kind of go through at home. So that's number one, have a niche. So, and then to kind of furthermore to that, if you're going to be an authority or you're going to talk about a subject, then make sure you do your research. It's never been easier. So do your research, make sure you know what you're saying is correct. But, especially in food, get ready for a lot of feedback. A lot of feedback. There's good feedback, ugly feedback, great feedback. Sometimes it's right, often it's not. Make sure you're ready for feedback. The internet is a wild, wild place, and people are not afraid to say what they're thinking. So get ready for feedback, and if you struggle with that, then I highly suggest you work on that part of your personality before you try and start making content, because it comes thick and fast. It's wild. But feedback is a blessing. Use it, right? Learn to, learn to take it on board. I don't get everything right. I try to, but I don't get everything right. So take it on board. One of the things I talk about a lot, in our team is like, let's just throw shit at a wall and see what sticks, right? So if we try a new format, a new concept, right? I'm in the comments straight away. I want to know what people are thinking, and is it 2 people out of 10 that don't like it? Is it 1 person out of 10 that doesn't like it? Is it 5 out of 10 that don't like it? Or is it 10 out of 10 everyone loves it? You know where to take that concept next, right? And don't be afraid to quit that stuff. You try a new concept, lots of people don't like it, move on. Doesn't matter how good you think it is. At the end of the day, the customer, the consumer, the community votes. And if they don't like it, they're not going to watch it, which is fine as well. I've had thousands of ideas. I've thought, well, this is the one. This is the video that's going to do 100 mil. This is the one. And it just tanks. And you just go, all right, cool, didn't work. Pick yourself up, go on to the next thing. Super important. Feedback is a blessing. Can also be a negative. Get used to it and use it to your advantage. Because especially in food, I'm sure it's the same in a lot of niches, especially in food, everyone has their own way of doing it. So especially because I like to kind of play in dishes that aren't native to me. So I like to play with Southeast Asian dishes and, pastas and Indian cuisine and food from everywhere. People are super protective over what they rightfully so love and are passionate about, and have eaten their whole lives, right? But the thing is that the way one nonna makes a lasagna in one part of Italy, and one nonna makes a lasagna in another part of Italy, and one nonna that's now lives in the US makes her lasagna, is all different. Doesn't mean any are right or wrong, they're all different, and I'm sure they're all absolutely delicious, right? A guy that we met in the Philippines, what was his saying? He had a fantastic saying. It was about adobo. And he said, adobo, none of them are wrong, none of them are right, but your own grandmother's is always the tastiest, right? And that's the same for any dish around the world, right? So, you just look for trends, right? If you get more than people go, that's good, you've nailed it, then happy days. Well, the thing I find really funny, which cracks me up, and it happened recently, I won't say the video because you'll go and find it and call the person out. But I cooked a dish from another country. A lot of people from that country said, that was awesome, thank you so much, you've nailed it. And then there's a couple of people who aren't from that country going, you did this wrong. And it's like, hang on. Look at the 30 comments above yours that say, who are from that country are saying you nailed it. And then you, who are not from this country, saying you haven't nailed it. Sometimes I have to bite my tongue, it's like, just leave it. It'll come out in the wash. So. I kind of talked about it yesterday. I like to get in the comments and post, and at the start I used to get a bit defensive and you're wrong, you're right. It does nothing. You're not going to change anyone's mind. Thank the positive comments, thank the negative comments, take from it what you can and move on, and just get better from it. Feedback is a blessing. So next point is just to be true to yourself, right? And I think this is one of the things that I'm blessed with, because I started this later in my life than most people start in this kind of career, I guess. I'm really comfortable in my own skin. I know who I am, I know who I'm not, and I take pride in who I am. I'm not ashamed of warts and all. I'm proud of who I am and the person that I am. So it's imperative that you're just yourself, and you see it all the time. People that aren't themselves, online or any time, it's so obvious. It's so obvious to everyone else around you, and anyone that's consuming your content, that it just comes out in the wash. So, the better that you are at being yourself in front of a lens, the better creator you're going to be. And look at some of the greats, some of the people that have been have nailed it. And Emma Chamberlain comes to mind. She's I watched her. I watched part of it, her podcast with Colin and Samir. And and they kind of brought it up there, and they were like, you know, she's so great in front of the camera. She's always been really comfortable to talk to a camera and be herself, and that's why her content has done so well. I think a huge part to play. And I guess on that point, it's like, and I kind of talked about this, I don't know, I might have tweeted it or something. Anyway, it's like, you know, the faster that you learn that not everyone's going to like you, the better your life is, right? There's a lot of people in this world that don't like me, and that's okay. I like most people, but there's people that you meet that just aren't part of, I guess, your tribe. They're not on the same wavelength, whatever, and that's totally fine, you know. I think that where it becomes an issue is when people start fighting that, trying to make people like them, or you know, pushing their opinions on other people, you know, getting in the comments and saying, oh, I don't like you. Like, what's the point? Just move on. It's a great thing about content. If you don't like something, just don't watch it. It's real simple, right? So the whole negative comments thing just blows my mind, because I'm like, there's lots of content on there on YouTube and everything that I don't like, so I don't watch it. Like, it's real simple. But you know, the faster that you learn that not everyone's going to like you, the better, and that's okay. Not everyone's going to like you, and that's great, and it's actually a positive thing, because if everyone liked everyone, the world would be a really weird and boring place. So yeah, I think one of the other things that's, you know, that I've kind of tried to lean into a lot is like not being afraid to fail, and also not being afraid to share those failures. I don't share all my failures, but often I will share a failure. We're making a video, you know, I stuff it up, and I think it's important to share it for a couple of reasons. I think the lessons that I learn, the most important and valuable lessons I've learned in my life have been from failing. So if I can share that, even if it's just failing at cooking a recipe rather than a massive life lesson, just failing at a recipe, it shows to people that you're human. And it also teaches people what not to do. If you're making a certain dish and you do a step the wrong way around, it's like, well, that's what happens. You fail, right? So don't be afraid to show your failures. You know, it's common. Everyone fails, you know, and fail fast. Fail, learn from it, move on. So then I think I'm going to start talking about more of like the nuts and bolts, as opposed to the, I guess the emotional side of it, for lack of a better word. So moving into like the nuts and bolts, it's like in the early days, post a lot, post all the time, make content all the time, always try and get better, right? And I think, you know, the more that you post, the better you get, and the faster that you learn. So, you know, I know it's hard. I get that. I get that it's hard to post all the time. You know, it's, you know, I've done it for 2 years now. I've posted something pretty much, I think every single day pretty much I've posted a video. You know, in the early days I was posting 2 short videos a day, you know, recipe-based videos. We cut that down to 1, and we've posted 1 video pretty much every day for 2 years now. And it's super important. And I know I can hear all the excuses under the world. People are like, I've got a full-time job, I've got other commitments, I've got this, I've got that. You have to make sacrifices if you want to be good at this, if you want to grow up this fast. It's just, you know, if you want to do this full-time in 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, it's completely possible, but you have to make sacrifices. That's all there is to it. And if you're not in a position to make those sacrifices for whatever reason, other responsibilities, you've got, you know, young kids, you've got, you know, a mortgage, and you know, interest rates are horrendous at the moment, and you just can't afford to take time off work, either find other things to sacrifice, or understand it's going to take a longer time. Because like, I don't think this matters about making content. If you're successful at anything, like really successful, you have to grind, you know. And I'm not like sitting here going, grind, hustle culture, grind or die, nothing like that. I fully respect it's not for everyone, but don't sit there and go, oh, that person's got it all, they're lucky, they're happy, they've nailed it. I guarantee you, if anyone that's truly successful, they have ground for it. They have worked their little ass off for it. There is no question in my mind. No one that's really successful, genuinely successful, has not done it without a whole lot of hard work. So, example of sacrifices that I made to get to where I am today. I worked 2 full-time jobs for 12 months. 2 full-time jobs. So I worked a full-time job so I could pay my bills, and I made content for 60 hours a week as well on top of that, right? So I had a normal job, 38 hours a week or whatever it was, and then after work and in the weekends, all I did was make content, all right? I stopped working out. I didn't have time. It was either sleep less or not, or it was either sleep less or not, or work out, or the other way around. I don't know why that got me so confused. So I chose to not work out. As a result, my health took a hit, right? I put on weight, I felt sluggish, I felt slow, and like I've just been talking about since these vlogs started, I've now gotten the last 2 or 3 months back into the daily routine of exercising, which I love. It's so good for my mind. But as a sacrifice I had to make, and I consciously made that choice. It was like, okay, I can cut my sleep down to 5 hours a night, or I can stay sleeping 7 hours a night and not work out. And I chose to sleep, and I think it was the right decision. And again, like I'm a massive advocate for health, but it's one of those, and exercising, it's one of those things that you have to make sacrifices. That was a sacrifice I made. We lived with Caitlin's parents for like almost 3 years because of this, right? You know, it happened, we started because of COVID, then we started making content, and there's a lot of reasons why, but that was one of the reasons. And I realized that I'm super lucky for a couple of reasons. That we have family members that can take us in, that's not too much stress on anyone, that I actually like my in-laws, so I was happy to live there. But it takes it makes your pride take a bashing, right? I was 36, 35 years old and I moved back in with my in-laws. And that's not an easy thing to do, because I lived by myself, or lived, out of home since I was like 18. So then to move back in with parents, it seems like a step back, but it's actually was the biggest blessing ever, and saved us so much money, and meant we could continue living, and all the rest of it. And as well as the fact that I was a bit older, I had a bit of money. I wasn't, we weren't completely skint. We had cars, we have all that type of stuff. We have, all that stuff's kind of sorted, right? So yeah, don't be afraid, especially if you're young. Don't be afraid to go move home and try and keep making content there if you get on with your parents and it's not a strain on relationships. But yeah, you have to make sacrifices, and you have to post a lot. It's as simple as that. You're not going to make 2 videos and get millions of views. There's a few examples of people that are just blowing up. There's not heaps of examples of people that have blown up overnight and that have sustained a genuine career in this area. People grind. There's all the stories. Mr. Beast made 100 videos before one went off. Colin and Samir, it's a very similar story. Ryan Trahan, same story. He's made hundreds of videos. Rex and Link, they've made thousands of videos. So, sacrifice, be patient. It's not going to happen overnight. It's just not. And then I think starting to talk more about where to invest money once you start earning money. Just a caveat on that, I didn't make any money from content for the first 12 months, and then it ramped up pretty slowly from there. Deliberately didn't do any brand deals. I made the conscious decision I didn't want to do brand deals until I had 1 million followers on Instagram, and a million followers on TikTok, and a couple of 100,000 on Instagram. And I deliberately did that. I didn't want to just kind of wash my page with ads too early. You kind of have to build up a bit of trust and a bit of, I think, before you can do that. But then once you get some money, what do you do with it, right? And I think, that you see all these YouTubers living these crazy lives, and I think you need to be really careful with your money, because it comes and goes. It comes fast and it goes faster. And if you don't set yourself up properly, you're going to have a big tax bill and you're not going to be able to pay it, and that's a really bad place to be. So be smart with your money. Don't you got to think of it as a business, not as private cash. I think that's the other thing. Think of it as a business. So you need to think about cash flow, and what's coming, what's going, etc., etc. I think I could talk for hours about the business side of it, but I think we'll just talk about kind of where to invest your money early. So I think there's two places, and that's gear and people. So invest in gear. I think that's first up. Now, this camera here, I don't even know what it is. It's a Sony ZV-E10. It's a 4K camera. It's got a removable lens, which comes with it. I think, what is this thing? 3.5, 60 to 50 mil. It's not an expensive camera. It's got a shotgun mic on the top. It's not an expensive camera. Not a cheap camera either, by the way. This is a fantastic camera. Comes on your phone. Works great. There's a couple of other benefits to having a camera like this. You can change lenses, etc., etc. It's easier for data management as far as I'm concerned. This camera will last you for 2 years or whatever, however long you need to. Then when you're ready to upgrade your gear, sorry, I'm skipped ahead. So invest in something like that. Then if you need to invest more money, invest in audio, okay? People will put up with a bad picture over bad audio. If you've got terrible audio, it's very hard to be engaged in a video. So invest in some mics. They're not that expensive either. They're a few $100s. Then when it comes time to invest more money, think about lighting. Lighting is really important. For a long time, I didn't have much lighting. Now, I've got lights on the roof and everything, right? But you start getting really smaller gains. But just get one, Aperture. I'm not sponsored by Aperture or anything like that. I just use their products. They make great lights. They aren't crazy expensive. You only really need, for most content creation, one key light. If you really can't afford it and you need some lighting, you can get like one of those ring lights. Depending on what content you're making, they're kind of not that great. Whereas if you just spend some money on a cheap C stand, an Aperture, I can't remember what other ones are. I think it's it's got a big softbox on it. It was a few hundred, maybe $500 for the light with a softbox. C stand from Amazon for $50, and you've got a great lighting solution that'll last you a long time. When it comes to upgrading your bodies, I used to be all over the stuff, right? Like camera, names and lenses and stuff like that. And now Mitch kind of handles all this stuff. So people are like, what cameras do you use? And I'm like, oh, I don't actually know. But when it comes to upgrading a camera, you go from one of these or one of these, go straight to the top. And I'm not talking about like a Blackmagic or a Red. I'm talking about like the top of the prosumer level cameras. So like an A7S in the Sony range. Expensive. They are expensive, right? And I think that body, don't quote me, I think that body's $6,000. It's a lot of money. But what I believe, don't go from this camera to a mid-tier camera, because what's going to happen is you're going to get that mid-tier camera and you're going to go, 6 months time, you're going to go, actually I'm just going to get that A7S 4, whatever they are. Right? So just wait. If you need to wait another 6 months and just go from this to that, I think it's a better investment of money. So you just cut out that middle level, because the increment in quality isn't that different. It really isn't. But you will want to start. Now we struggle to make videos, without 4 cameras, 4 lights, lav mics, all the rest of it, right? But we're at a very different stage. And that's kind of a lot what this channel's about. It's like this camera, one microphone pointed at me and a rant, and whoever wants to listen can listen. So when to invest in people and who. So I'm lucky. I've had Caitlin from the start, and obviously she worked for free, but she's been there from the start, and she's always proofread all my stuff. I'm dyslexic. I struggle with written language. So she would proofread all my recipes and proofread any important emails that are going out, talking to brands. Now Caitlin's role is, is a proper role. It's always been a proper role, but is, a full-time role, and, she's the general manager. She looks after all the brand deals, all the special projects, collaborations, dealing with all the lawyers, the accountants, dealing with any HR needs that need to get dealt with. Not that there really is any HR needs, but like the nuts and bolts of signing people up, putting people on payroll, all the rest of it. Hugely important role. The first employee that we came on board that was actually not one of us was Mitch, and he came on board as a real all-round. He was a videographer and an editor, and a lifesaver, right? And The one caveat I'd say to when you are going to bring someone on board and pay them, so it's not like a family member or something that's kind of doing it for the love, is make sure you can afford that person for the long term. Don't be that person that hires someone because you think you've had a good month and you can afford it, and then 2 months down the line you go, oh, I'm really struggling to pay your salary. Like just don't be that person. It's not cool. You're dealing with people's livelihoods. It's a huge responsibility. If you're gonna hire people, make sure you can afford to pay them. Real simple. And I think early on, you need to hire people all-rounders, right? Like Mitch came on and he did everything. He was like filming me, editing, uploading, you know, all that stuff. You know, helped me kind of with concepts, right? So that was that. Now we have, you know, Daz on board as well, and she's like production, so she looks after the calendars and all that stuff. She does all the thumbnails, which is a hugely important piece of work that needs to happen. She does a great job there. And we've got Caleb, who's our most recent hire, and Caleb's a full-time editor. So Mitch basically looks after Caleb and does all the videoing, you know, and then manages the data, and then Caleb, all Caleb does is edit, and he's been, you know, fantastic. But you know, I think the thing is with hiring is like, think of the stuff that's taking up your time that you find the most frustrating, or you don't love the most, and hire for those roles, you know, early on. So for me, videography was hard, really hard. I actually quite like using cameras, but it's really hard to cook and to use a camera at the same time, because you're doing something, you go and push record, you want to move the angle, you got to stop, wash your hands, move your camera, get it back in focus, push record, come back around, finish that. So I was like, immediately I needed to sort that out. I taught myself how to edit, and I think it's really important. I think at the start you should know how to do everything. So I taught myself how to edit, but pretty quickly, you know, because it's not my passion. My passion is making videos, not necessarily editing videos. But it's a really crucial part of the process. So I understand how editing works, but I was more than happy to get that off my desk. Push comes to shove, I could still edit a short format video. I don't think I could edit it, definitely not at the level. I couldn't edit a YouTube anymore. I could fumble my way through it, but it would take me a long time, right? But I understand how the process works. I understand how the software works. I kind of have well, I was about to say I understand the limitations, but I'm probably underestimate the limitations, because Caleb keeps surprising me with the stuff that he keeps producing. So yeah, I mean, you know, just that if you're going to hire people, hire for jobs that you don't want to do. First up, hire people to be all-rounders straight up as well. Be honest with them. Don't just be like, hey, you're going to come on and, you know, just do this, just do that. We've been really, you know, and Mitch and Daz are prime examples of that. Those guys will do anything. Daz does the dishes most of the time, as an example. Caleb kind of pretty much just edits, but that's just because we have so much editing. That's all we really want him to focus on. But I wouldn't have a problem with asking Caleb to come and man a camera if we needed him to, or jump in and help do the dishes if we needed him to. That's just kind of what's expected, I think, in small businesses. And I think the most important thing to think about if you're thinking about doing this as a career, and it was on a podcast I saw the other day, I was interviewing a really wealthy guy who had made all his money in shipping. I've forgotten the creator who interviewed him. I've forgotten the guy's name, so I apologize. But he said there's a lot of people who lust vocations or jobs, but don't actually love them. So cooking is a prime example. A lot of people lust after being a professional chef, and they get into it and they realize pretty quickly they don't actually love it. I loved cooking. I absolutely loved it, right? I loved the kitchen. I loved that atmosphere. I loved that it was fast and furious. I loved that it was grimy, and not as in dirty, grimy as in it was like grit your teeth and get shit done. I loved the camaraderie. I loved the people. I loved that it was kind of pretty rock and roll and like pretty raw. But I fell out of love with it, right? At a certain point, I was like, oh, I can't do this forever. And I think most people find that. So I'm really lucky now to have this kind of, switch in my career. And I love what I do now. I absolutely love it. And I'll continue to do it until I don't love it anymore. But I think there's crazy statistics now about, how many kids now say they want to be a YouTuber when they grow up, but they don't actually understand how hard it is. I've been very fortunate. I'm one of the biggest food creators in Australia, and I pinch myself every day that I can say that, But people don't understand that hasn't just happened in 2 years because I got lucky. It's happened because I worked my ass off for it. And I continue to work really hard. And I can only do that and work this hard on something because I love it. So dip your toes in the water and make sure you love this job before you go all in and you don't just lust it. Because it's not for everyone. It's really not. Anyway, I hope that's had some kind of impact on you, if this is something that you're thinking about, or if you're just interested in it. So, reminder, I'm not going to vlog tomorrow, not because I'm doing anything crazy, but we've got a Nashville, I think it's Nashville, I could be wrong, I'll be in trouble if it's wrong. I'm pretty sure it's Nashville vlog going live on Monday, so there's no point in me doing one of these as well. And I'm probably just going to have a day off. Yay. So enjoy your weekends, enjoy the vlog on Monday, and I'll see you all when it's my Monday. Take care, eat something tasty, see you soon, peace.